All right, what is going on, Laker fans? Appreciate you guys tuning in. A little, I'm do a little Sunday action, little Lakers talk on a Sunday here. All-Star game coming up tonight, and for me, want to spend a little time talking about this final push for the Los Angeles Lakers. 23 games left to try to freaking make the postseason. Lake fans, we got to make the playoffs. And I don't know what you guys want me to tell you, but the Lakers certainly desperate to make the playoffs this year. So got a few things that I want to get into. So number one, just kind of talk about the final 23 games. I'm actually curious and intrigued about what this Lakers team is going to be after that trade. Seeing them for, I know, just one game, D'Angelo, AD, and Bron, and seeing the rest of those guys, Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt, Mo Bamba, just kind of go down the list. Some of the different players that we saw. But I'll talk a little bit about the final 23 games. What needs to happen to make the playoffs? If the Lakers are going to make a postseason run, there's certainly going to be some things that we should all be expecting. And if they're going to get in, I definitely think there's specifics that they're going to need to control. A little pressure off AD and LeBron. I'll talk about that. And then if the Lakers didn't make the playoffs, what would that mean? What happens from the franchise there? What do you kind of do in the offseason? So that's what we're going to spend today's episode on. So thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for being a part of the channel. If you can please subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate that. Been getting some great views and some great subscribers over the past couple of months or so. And maybe that's because I'm trying to push it more, or you guys are just doing whatever you do, but I really appreciate it. So please subscribe to the channel. Okay. 23 games left. We saw LeBron, AD, and D'Lo for one game. And I did an episode, last episode I did was specifically on D'Angelo Russell and how he just fits. And that got me very optimistic about what we got left here from a Laker perspective and just, some light at the end of the tunnel, if you want to put it that way. I've seen what this Lakers team has been all season long. I saw what they were last year. And for basically 50-plus games this year and 82 games last year, they're telling us they're not a playoff team. So the fact that they did go out, make a trade, and kind of take, what we have seen in the past year and a half as, all right, not much optimism. I mean, every once in a while you get excited about something, and then 36 seconds later, then you would get back to reality and say, yep, that team's not making the playoffs. But the final 23 games seem so fascinating to me because you have three players that you feel like fit. And you have a new player in D'Angelo Russell that seems like, oh, no, he could definitely be a player that gets the offense going, a more traditional point guard. No, Bron, you don't have to bring up the ball, or you don't have to get everybody set up every single possession. No, AD, don't worry. Go down in the block and D'Lo will find you, or D'Lo will try to make the right decision. There's a lot of times it's more traditional point guards that you see do this. You throw the ball in the block, in the post, double team comes, the big man throws it back out to the guard, and then the big man never sees the ball again. I've already seen D'Lo get the ball, throw it down to AD kick it out, and D'Lo say, sound good. I'm going to throw it right back into the block to you. That's a more traditional point guard. And I think if you're Bron and Anthony Davis, you are saying to yourselves, okay, maybe there's a little bit of pressure that can come off our shoulders because we got somebody else that can play make, that can create, and that is under control, right? Russell Westbrook was never under control. And maybe that's just Russell Westbrook. That was his style. That's maybe some of the times what has made him, as successful as a player as he's been. But with the Lakers at this stage of his career, that was not helping. So I'm excited that we got 23 games left. Let me give you an idea of just right out the gate. So when the All-Star game festivities, all that stuff ends, Lakers get back to playing this week coming up on Thursday. So that'll be their first game since the All-Star break. Laker fans, there is literally not a night off for the Lakers when it comes to opponents. Okay. Got the Warriors coming into crypto on Thursday. You can say whatever you want about the Warriors, but you just got to be you have to be prepared for them simply for the fact that they're the Golden State Warriors, and I know Steph Curry's not there. I don't know when he's coming back. I don't know how far after the All-Star break, but if he's not there, then it's a very winnable game. If he is there, winnable game, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. The Warriors are sitting, let me just check here, 2.5 games in front of the Lakers. I want to point this out from a perspective of look at the matchups they have and look how close the Lakers are within some of these teams. So Warriors right out the gate. Then you're at Dallas. Okay, Dallas has 3.5 game lead on you. Then you're at Memphis. Tough game. I don't need to talk about how much of a lead that they have because Memphis is in a different category than the Lakers. Then you got at OKC. They're 2 games in front of you. Then you play Minnesota. They're 3 games in front of you. Then you got the Warriors again. And you got Memphis again. In the month of March, Pelicans, Dallas, Phoenix, Oklahoma City, Minnesota. Again, all teams that you're going to be facing at some point, or all teams that are in front of you that you got to gain ground on. So 23 games left, and there aren't going to be many nights. And I know for me, I'll give you as an example. Doing the pre and the post game shows on 710, getting a chance to do those every single night. You always are trying to find, all right, is there a storyline to this game? Okay. Is there a way maybe this franchise is heading in that direction? Whatever it is, you always try to find storylines. Ain't going to be tough to be doing the pre and the post game shows in these final 23 games because every single night there's something to play for the Lakers. And every single night, there's something to play for on the opposite end. The teams on the other end are also saying the same thing. So just like we're sitting here and I'm throwing up this, this podcast here on YouTube, I'm sure there's somebody else who's covering the Golden State Warriors that's saying the same thing, who's covering the Minnesota Timberwolves who's saying the same thing, saying each one of these games matter. you gotta beat these games against the Lakers. I'm sure they're doing the same exact thing. So it is a interesting period of time for the final 23. And the Lakers do have different storylines. If they didn't go out and make the trades that they did, then I don't really know what I could say that would be much different or expect a different result. But because they did make those trades, it certainly makes it fascinating. Okay. What needs to happen to make the playoffs? What do the Lakers have to do to make the playoffs? First off, let me say this. They need a lot of things to go their way. So they do need these teams in front of them, like the Oklahoma City Thunder that nobody would have thought would be in this position. You need them to start getting some L's. They're 28-29. You need the Jazz and the Portland Trailblazers. Is it possible for them to get out of the way? And I'm not even talking about the Lakers winning games. I'm talking about other teams coming back to reality, or let's not even call it reality. They're just 500 teams, so it's not like these teams are doing anything special. They're just hovering around 500, a game or two above 500, a game or two below 500. They need some teams in front of them to start getting some L's. So before whatever the Lakers need to do to make the playoffs, how about some of these other teams getting some L's? The Pelicans without Zion, can they go on another losing streak? Can they all of a sudden, look up at the standings and they're looking and they're saying, damn, the Lakers are now ahead of us? They're going to need over the next couple of weeks, teams like the Thunder, teams like the Pelicans, teams like the Jazz, the Blazers. I'm using those teams as examples. Maybe even the Golden State Warriors, obviously without Steph Curry, you need them to start getting some L's. So that's the first thing that needs to happen. The second thing is, I think from a basketball perspective, the way I'd look at the Lakers, what has to happen to make the playoffs, we just got to start seeing good basketball on a consistent basis. We got to have an identity where when you play the Lakers, I'll give that last game that the Lakers had right before the break, right, against the Pelicans. They kind of went 10-11 deep, right? Lonnie Walker barely got any minutes, which I wish the guy would get some more minutes. Kind of feel bad for his situation. But the Lakers, they had a starting lineup that forced Dennis Schroeder to come off the bench. Austin Reeves was coming off the bench. Mo Bamba was coming off the bench. Troy Brown Jr. was coming off the bench. Lonnie Walker, Wenyon Gabriel. I think I mentioned Wenyon. They had a lineup where a lot of guys that have been kind of coming in and out of the starting lineup, they might be solidified bench players moving forward. They could very well be solidified bench players moving forward. I think that's a good thing. You want this team to have a resemblance of an actual team that, okay, I know how Beasley is a knockdown three-point shooter, and you know exactly what he's going to give you every single night. Okay, I know Vanderbilt, he's going to grab boards off the glass. He's going to hustle play. He's going to get some blocks when you're not expecting it. He's going to do all those little things that maybe Anthony Davis doesn't have to worry about because he knows that he's going to get some help from Vanderbilt. If that's the starting lineup for the Lakers, great. And if those are the bench players for the Lakers, great. Let's just have some consistency. If there's one thing this Lakers team over the last 2 years hasn't had, I don't know who the hell's starting. I don't know who's coming off the bench. I don't know who's closing out games. So in the next 23 games, if there's a little resemblance of that, I think that's a great positive for the Lake Show. I think that would be incredibly helpful for the coaching staff. I think it'd be incredibly helpful for obviously the players. Everybody kind of understands their role. Okay, now we got everybody's role figured out. Guys have to thrive. And that's, probably going to be the difference of the Lakers making the playoffs or not. They got to play as a team. They have to know their role, and they have to thrive. They have to play good basketball. They don't have the margin of error to say, you know what? We just let this one go against the Thunder. We really just didn't play good enough defense. And, it happens. You got to give them credit. No, they don't have that luxury. What was that game against the Blazers? Remember, Lakers beat the Golden State Warriors. Then they go up against the Blazers. The following, they had 2 games on the road. They won at Golden State. It was the first game. All the new guys came in. And then they played the Warriors, or they played the Blazers. I think the Blazers maybe hit 23 threes, something like that. Dame had 30 in the first half. Lakers gave up 65 and something along those lines. And I remember all the comments post-game was, yeah, well, they just hit their shots. Okay. Did you counter whatever they were doing, whatever flow that they were having? Okay, we're going to let Matisse Thybulle shoot threes, but you know what? He's hit a couple. So why don't we stop letting him shoot threes? Or why don't we start doubling Dame? Whatever the case is. They don't have the margin of error to walk away from games. And, a week goes by and they went 2-2. And another week goes by and you count up the total of those 2 weeks and they went 4-4. They don't have that luxury. So guys have to thrive. Players have to. I think there's going to be, I look at, let me point out the stars real quick. LeBron James, yes, has to be LeBron, but maybe LeBron can also, because D'Angelo Russell's there, maybe his numbers can come down a little bit, but it's still equaling W's, so that's okay. Anthony Davis, all right, yes, we need him to be great, but okay, well, if Mo Bamba and Vanderbilt just got 10 rebounds combined, okay, it's okay if AD's rebounds went down as long as you're getting W's. So when I talk about team, the stars got to be the stars. But at the same time, I think, it's really just everybody contributing, everybody knowing their roles and finding ways to just get W's. And how you get the win, it's important how you win. Is it good basketball? Something that you can build on? Yes. They also now have margin of error to just get losses and say, oh, we're going to get them next time. One of the other things I was going to mention was a little bit of pressure off AD and LeBron. I think D'Lo is going to help with that. I really do. I think D'Angelo will take a little bit of pressure off those guys. That's what I'm talking about. There's other players too. If the last game the Lakers played, Bron played 29 minutes. Laker fans. Do you know how many post-game shows I've done where I'm talking about Bron playing 36, 37, 38, overtime game, 43 minutes in a game? He played 29. Lakers won by 18 or 20, whatever they won by. So I think for me, the thing that is most important that I pay attention to, I think that just collectively, you got to look like a squad. You got to look like a team. And hopefully that's obviously going to be the case for the Lakers. So just kind of covering all that. Excited about the final 23 games, like I mentioned. What needs to happen to for the Lakers to make the playoffs? I listed whether it's the Lakers winning games, getting some help from other teams losing games, kind of a combination of all that. What would really, I'll kind of want to break this down because I want to give it a little bit of context here of what I'm referring to when I say this. But what would really, really be so disappointing is that the Lakers are not able to make the play-in tournament / playoffs. Got to get the play-in tournament first, then you got to make the playoffs from there. I don't count the play-in tournament as the playoffs. I'm talking about the actual playoffs. Lakers got to make the playoffs and be in a 7-game set versus what would probably be Memphis or Denver or whatever the case is. So let me give a little backstory here. If the last game the Lakers play is April 9th, and then that's it, the season is over. I think that's their final game here. Let me double check here. But if that's the final game and it's another season where the Lakers, April 9th against the Utah Jazz, if that's the final game of the year and it's a wrap again, it would be so incredibly disappointing. I also think it'd be a wake-up call for the franchise because now you're talking about a team. Like, Vince, you know this, that Lakers, 2012 and 2013, that's the year Kobe tore his Achilles, all right? And the Lakers got swept in the first round against the Spurs. Do you know that's the last time the Lakers have had a full playoff series at Crypto.com? And let me explain what I'm talking about. 6 years after that, they didn't make the playoffs. 6 years in a row, they didn't make the playoffs. And then 2019, 2020, they make the playoffs. They win the championship. It's in Orlando. The following year, so there's no home games at Crypto. The following year, they play the Phoenix Suns in the first round. That's when Anthony Davis gets hurt. Lakers lose 4-2. But remember in that series, the Lakers, it was reduced capacity. So it wasn't like there was a full 18,000, 19,000 people at Crypto because of COVID. And then last year, they didn't make the playoffs. So they don't make the playoffs again this year. They will not have had a real playoff series at Crypto with full attendance, a full audience, I guess you can call it, for 10 years. So hopefully that's obviously not going to be the case for the Lakers. If it was the case, might be a time to change the entire foundation of this franchise. I don't know what to tell you, but you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. But look at the results over the years. Yes, they've had injuries, but why would the injuries change over time? You just assume as people get older, then that's probably going to be more common, not less common. So 23 games left. They got a lot of work to do. I think there should be excitement for the final 23 games, and damn, would it be disappointing if they were not able to get in the postseason. So Lakers 27-32 right now. Their next game is coming up on Thursday. So obviously a few days away from getting the rest of the season started. And they got a lot of work to do. So there's no other way to put it. I'll also kind of look at it this way. Look at how they come out the gate in these next few games. I think that's going to tell a lot. Now, it's not going to be easy, but there are 5 games that they got coming up right out the gate from the All-Star break, which is Golden State at home, at Dallas, at Memphis, at OKC, Minnesota at home. Those are 5 games right there. They're going to have a lot of home games, by the way, in the month of March, so hopefully that home cooking is going to help them. But in those 5 games, just as an example, if you went 2-3, okay, now you're 6 games below 500 with 18 games left to go. If you went 3-2, you're still 4 games below 500. So, and 3-2, you kind of got to take it just based upon what that schedule looks like. 3 tough games on the road, all teams that are going to have their bullseye on you, and all teams that have something to play for as well. So, I'm really curious what the first 5-6 games are going to look like. Is it going to look similar to the game it was against the Pelicans, the final game of the season, where they're building some momentum, where they actually look like a team, where they look like they got dudes that complement each other, or is it going to look more like the Blazers game where you put your hand up and say, oh, well, Portland just shot really well? If it's that and it's 2 step forward and 2 steps back, that would be incredibly disappointing. And also keep an eye, obviously, on all the other teams in front of the Lakers. All right, Lake fans, appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you for doing this. Always enjoy talking Lakers basketball, and certainly enjoy putting this pod up on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Any of the topics that I talked about here that is of interest of you, please feel free to comment as well. Always enjoy reading your comments. So, Lake fans, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll get back with you guys soon. Thanks.